Good afternoon, welcome to the PinkUn Matchday blog. I am Connor Southwell, just heading up to Carrow Road. Norwich City taking on Aston Villa. Of course, Villa came up through the playoffs last season. Norwich City won the league. There's a nice statistic bandy about that Norwich haven't lost to a newly promoted side at Carrow Road since 1995. So if they can continue that, then they'll at least go into the international break after this game with some points on the board. Villa, of course, have spent a lot of money. Although, as we said on our Facebook Live yesterday, that was more a necessity than perhaps some will give them credit for. Perhaps the comparisons to Fulham are a little bit lazy in that regard. Could be an interesting game today in terms of two teams that will view this as a game where they'll need to get points if they want to stay in the league and if they have aspirations of doing that. Norwich, of course, looks like they're going to have to field Michael McGovern as the goalkeeper. Only two fit centre-backs with Ben Godfrey needing a hernia going into the break as well, so not an ideal situation in terms of the backdrop to this game, but Norwich are used to that now. They used to being the underdogs and now they've got to go out and get 3 points, and hopefully if Carrow Road is as raucous as it was against Manchester City, then they've got a fantastic chance of doing that. You can see just over the distance there, Aston Villa fans, just across the river. Plenty of Norwich fans. That is the divide between the two supporters place before kick-off.
Today's matchday programme, very retro feel to it. Absolutely love that. Marco Steeple, of course, in the retro Norwich kit. Grealish representing a retro Aston Villa kit. If I open up a couple of pages, here we go, you'll be able to see there the Norwich City official sticker book, which has been launched by Archie and the EDP and the Norwich Evening News with the football club. You get loads of stickers. I started mine this week actually. I've not got too many swaps, so that's a good start as well. I think it is, yeah, it's Chris Gorham's column. So there you go, Chris has started his sticker book as well, and you can pick that up at all good newsagents. I think that's all the plug-in I have to do today. But yeah, well worth getting plenty of Norwich City heroes and icons in that book. Down, probably lucky it's only two. Of course, Wesley missing a penalty after a Michael McGovern save. An interesting first half. Norwich have been, particularly the back two, bullied by Wesley really from the off. Midfield lacking any degree of strength from John McGinn, Grealish, Hurahan, all finding plenty of pockets of space to create opportunities from. And it's been too simple from an offensive point of view for Aston Villa to create really clear-cut opportunities. 9 shots on target in the first half really amplifies that point, I feel. Norwich haven't really created too much, felt pretty
fully aggrieved after having a VAR review turned down for a Tyrone Mings handball. I've only seen 2 angles of it at this point. The first one didn't look like a penalty. The second one I'd like to see again. Second half now getting underway. Plenty of work for the Canaries to do. Welcome to Carrow Road in the aftermath of a 5-1 defeat here today for Norwich City. Daniel Farke's 100th game at the helm, not going as he may have planned and probably posing a lot of questions going into an international break. And of course everything I'm about to say has to be taken with the context of the current injury crisis they have and the depleted nature of Daniel Farke's squad at present. Quite frankly, Norwich City didn't defend well enough today. They didn't penetrate Aston Villa well enough in terms of an offensive sense, and it feels as though slightly teams have worked them out in that sense. If we cast our mind back to that Manchester City game and why Norwich defended so well, is because they forced Manchester City into crossing positions. They forced them into wide areas and said, go on then, we back ourselves to beat you airily in the penalty area. And that is almost what we've seen. And I know with the context of the previous 2 victories, people look for trends, and that's natural given the Premier League and given the nature of it. But today was an example of Norwich City being worked quite well, being found out quite well as well in all senses of the game. Villa totally deserved the win, were commanding, were dominant, were impressive. Wesley up top bullied the 2 centre-halves. McGinn in midfield was a bundle of energy who got about the pitch. Jack Grealish's quality from technical areas as well. I'm fighting the lawnmower, so hopefully you can still hear me. But yeah, today was an interesting one. Norwich got forced into wide areas. Villa very, very good at defending those central areas and making it really compact. Basically limited the space for Norwich to find the inroads and find the little combinations that they like to play in around the penalty area to work opportunities. Villa, on the other hand, pretty much left Wesley, Grealish and El Ghazi up for the majority of the game, and then flooded the transition and got midfield runners behind them and bypassed Norwich in midfield and out wide, and effectively overloaded the key areas that mattered at the correct times. This didn't look like a Villa side who haven't got a point on the road prior to coming to Carrow Road. This didn't look like a Villa side who deserved to be in the relegation zone, and a combination of that is probably that it clicking for them, but also exposing plenty of Norwich's weaknesses today. And look, to be frank, and of course, and we keep having to remind ourselves the extent of the injury crisis, but if they continue to perform in that way, and as we've seen at Burnley and we've seen at Palace, in a bit of a lacklustre way that sort of exposes a soft underbelly, then this season is going to become very, very tough very, very quickly. And I know I've said on the PinkUn podcast, I've said in videos that I've done, in the Premier League the highs are so high and the lows are so low, so there is no middle ground between the two, and it kind of feels like Norwich are being asked to grow up a lot in a short space of time, particularly a squad that lacks continuity at the moment, a squad that lacks options at the moment as well. So let's sort of recall the moments in the game. The first goal for Wesley comes from a ball from El Ghazi. Godfrey switches off slightly to play him onside, but turns really well to slot it under Michael McGovern, who made a fantastic save from a penalty, which we'll come on to in a little while. And from there, Norwich, again, and as they did show at Crystal Palace, perhaps more so than Burnley, displayed plenty of huff and of puff, but just could not find that decisive pass or create that decisive opportunity. There was a VAR call for a penalty for Norwich against Tyrone Mings that was awarded against them in that sense, upheld, I suppose, to the referee's decision. I must admit, the first replay I looked at looked pretty conclusive that it would have been a harsh penalty. There was a second angle they showed as well, just on that TV screen behind me there, that I think I'd like to see again before making a judgment. But Villa probably should have been more than 2 up at half time. Obviously had the penalty which Michael McGovern saves. It's not a great penalty from Wesley, in fairness, but the rebound save from Michael McGovern is very impressive as well, almost like a Schmeichel-esque save in extending his arms. But yeah, the second half continued in a similar vein. Aston Villa exploiting spaces that Norwich left them, really. They didn't have a midfield screener. They were second best, I thought, in most areas all over the pitch. And like I say, it feels to me like the crisis at the moment is affecting confidence, but equally that and teams stifling them now. This is now 3 games without a goal, and they've conceded 9 goals in 3 games, so that's 3 goals per game. That if that continues, you get relegated. It's as simple as that. And of course everything, and again I stress, it must be caveated with the fact that they've got so many injuries, and it is so difficult for them to build momentum, and it is so difficult for them to field a team that is of full strength. And we saw last season, okay, you can use the example that Villa perhaps didn't name strong teams, but how much more of a contest this would have been with a full 11. And then equally, you look at the substitute bench, and they don't have enough operators who can impact the game in a substantial way. You look at Onel Hernandez and the pace he injects into games and into fixtures. They don't have that at the moment, and they're really lacking it, to be completely honest. Pukki is being nullified again just because of what I spoke about earlier in terms of how they are solidifying central areas, and opponents are sort of becoming accustomed to the fact that both of Norwich's attacking midfielders like to play central a bit more than they do out wide, so they're forcing them out there. The fullbacks are being pinned back, and then they're overflowing and overloading areas centrally to create opportunities, and that is where Norwich City's woes are coming from at the moment. Their inability to stop counter-attacks, their inability to defend well enough and defend resiliently enough in areas. I mean, that second goal just down this side as I stand here, it's just a couple of passes and they're inside the box, and Hourihane is left to square it to Wesley, who has an easy tap in. So a really difficult day. Norwich go into this international break now, and the mood music will be negative. There was a few boos, although I think, again, given the context of the injuries, they can be forgiven slightly. But again, it's now, once you lose a game like this, it's all about the response that follows. And it's not an easy game by all means against Bournemouth coming up. They need now to prove that they can respond, that they can compete in the Premier League. And like I say, this international break has to be worked on, their defensive positioning, their defensive behaviour, and also about accelerating the recovery period of a lot of operators. A really tough day, a really sobering day, a really humbling day. Yeah, tough, very, very tough, and no doubt will strike concern into the hearts of plenty of Norwich City fans.